Evening, folks. Welcome back to the Leeds View for the live instant match reaction for Liverpool 0, Leeds United 0. A result I think everybody would have happily taken before the game. I think a point away at Anfield is a massive result any season. And Liverpool have been on a really good run of form of 3 wins in a row. And for Leeds to get their third away result is also big to right that away form, which has been problematic for most of this season. We will go through the normal bits and pieces. We'll give the overview of the game. We'll give a bit of detail on some topics. We'll look at the reaction to the team sheet at the start of the game versus what it looked like at the end of the game. The overall performances, some individual standout performances, and where does it leave Leeds moving forward? A couple of the main talking points. And we'll go through the kind of key incidents in what was a very strong defensive display from Leeds United. At times a little bit sloppy in possession, but given where they were, given what they were up against, and given the changes to the lineup, which we'll get into in a few minutes' time, it was really, really good. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could hit the like button, that would be massively appreciated. And if you're not subscribed, it's about 40% of people that watch the content that are not currently subscribed and watch on a daily basis. You can do that as well to join us, help us get towards 80,000 subscribers. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, you won't hear the comments that we will cover in the live section. They'll be clipped out for the clean review afterwards. And if you're watching live, we will get to your comments at the back end of the stream, and we will talk about them, but we'll go through the initial stuff. A slight change in look tonight as well, because I got a message from somebody during the week. Thank you for that message, by the way, that said the stats actually weren't visible on a TV screen, let alone on a phone or a monitor. So I've tried to make them a little bit bigger over there and try and keep the main areas still intact. But yeah, it's a good result on the road from Leeds United. It means 6 games unbeaten for Leeds. Now, yeah, we could argue we could have maybe gone at them a little bit more, but then the flip side to that coin is if you do that, they leave the back door open a little bit and get done there. So, yeah, all in all, a very interesting game. A nervy enough game. I don't think I was overly comfortable really at any point during that match, but it's our first clean sheet on the road this season. It's also our first clean sheet since the 30th of August, and that's long overdue. And with a side that had 2 changes to the defence, it's a really good defensive display. And Liverpool maybe didn't create any massively clear-cut chances in the second half, but there were some very big moments in the first half where Leeds made some big changes. And Leeds were the only side to have the ball in the back of the net. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's right leg offside in that one, but it was unlucky and he caused problems. But his goal-scoring run comes to an end, although it would have been nice for him to get that first goal at Anfield. But if you look at the whole performance, I think if we go back and let's talk about the main points first. As I say, first clean sheet away from home this season, which is massive. And that momentum the Leeds United building going into the weekend, Sunday's game against Manchester United, Ellen Road, where you've got to feel that Leeds were maybe holding back some players or holding back a few people. They will lose Ethan Ampadu, unfortunately, for the most bizarre yellow card. We're going to talk about the ref. I'll just make a note of that because I thought he was atrocious tonight. We'll get into him in a bit more detail. But because of the referee and a very soft yellow card, Ethan Ampadu will miss the game against Manchester United. You might have to see Ilya Groove start again. I thought Ilya Groove from a defensive perspective was very good for Leeds tonight in what he is asked to do versus his capabilities. I suppose that's the best way to put that. From a defensive perspective, it's a hell of a defensive performance from Leeds United. We had to sit back and soak up a huge amount of pressure. You look at the stats on screen there. I think Leeds had by the end of the game, 31% possession. It's a huge amount of it in Liverpool. So I'd deliver an XG of 1.96 for practically 2. So for Leeds to keep them to a 0 is a testament to the back line today. Sebastian Borneo came in the right-hand side of the centre-back positions. It was going to be an interesting one to see if Daniel Farke played him at all, because if he didn't play him, did that mean that he was out of his plans? Apparently not. Apparently not at this point, which means he's very much still in the mix. And he did well. He did really, really well. And actually, he's the one that gets the touch for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score from before it threw it out for offside. So, yeah, good performance from him. James Justin came in at right back as well. Thought he was excellent. Excellent at right back. And he makes a massive interception that stops Florian Wirtz having a tap in to Leeds goal in the first half. I thought James Justin was fantastic. He might not give you the attacking options you get from Jayden Bogle on that right-hand side, but he's definitely a very, very solid defender, and he did nothing wrong. They got nothing on the left-hand side. He pocketed Florian Wirtz for the bulk of that game, and then when they made changes, he had to move into centre half when Leeds took off Borneo, and he was fine there as well, and Jayden Bogle did well when he came on. But what it means for Leeds now is we're 21 points at the halfway point of the season. Your goal for a newly promoted side, as Daniel Farke likes to talk about us, is 20 points. And we're slightly ahead of that now. We're still ahead of that point per game average. And on the back of the weekend, not the weekend results, sorry, the New Year's Eve results, Leeds maintain a 7-point gap over West Ham United, which again could have been a tricky one coming into this game. Still 2 difficult games ahead of us. Manchester United and Newcastle. They're not the teams they were last year or the year before for Manchester United, not the team they've been for a while. But still challenges that Leeds will have to deal with, and different types of challenges. Going with St. James's Park is never that easy. But as I say, 7 clear of West Ham. The only downside of today's game, unfortunately, was Ethan Ampadu will miss the game against Manchester United with a suspension. He's done so well to avoid picking up that additional yellow card over the last 4 weeks. He's been hanging on that edge for ages. And the referee, for me personally, has absolutely done him in this one. And you can see from the momentum graph below, those who are watching, Leeds started the game very, very well on the front foot. And then Liverpool took hold of the game. You know, and you look at what they've got on the park and the run of form that they've been in recently. We did well to hold them out. I thought the second half we might change things up a little bit. Daniel Farke sat on it. And again, I think maybe the risk is that game is such a tight match. If you do make a change, then, you know, do you affect the game in the wrong way? And just maybe we've held them, continue to hold them. And he made changes when he had to make changes, bringing Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Noah Okafor on for Brendan Aronson. And Lucas mentioned, not a game for strikers or attacking players today. A lot of lone furrow ploughing going on up front for Leeds, with just a lot of pointless running, but they didn't have an awful lot of the ball. If you look at the team sheet wise, the start of the game, I think we all scratched our head. There was 4 changes to the team sheet. James Justin came in for Jayden Bogle, who again was on that yellow card, and he needs him for Manchester United on Sunday, maybe holding him back a little bit as well, be fresher for that game. Sebastian Bornell comes in for the injured Joe Rodon. Ilya Groove comes in for Noah Okafor, so very much a more defensive setup, and Lucas Mecha in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Daniel Farke is saying that he has to, as much as he wants to keep playing the player who's in form, he's got to also manage the minutes. And I'm sure they're talking awful about these blood tests that they do and these fatigue tests that they do. And clearly the medical team saying if you want to have Dominic Calvert-Lewin for Manchester United, you might need to give him a rest in this game. And he did that. He still made an impression when he came on. But yeah, team sheet wise, the big thing for me was it was still unpredictable. I don't think any of us saw that team sheet coming, which means Arne Slot definitely didn't see it coming. His sports analysts definitely wouldn't have seen that coming. And then even if they were going to set up, I didn't know. And I've asked for weeks before the current run that Leeds have been on for Leeds to be a bit more unpredictable and Daniel Farke to be more flexible and unpredictable. And we're getting that right now. So I can't complain and I won't complain. It's been really, really good. Had to rest DCL, as we say, and he's used the squad. This is the squad Leeds have bought, and he's used them and he's rotated them. And there was question marks over Sebastian Bornell. We only saw him start against Sheffield Wednesday. I'd always felt it was harsh judging him on that game, considering Leeds had changed the entire squad for that game, or the entire starting 11 for that game. But I would have liked to see him start with a more established side around him, with Ilya Groove in front of him, who hasn't started a lot of games this year, and James Justin to his right. But they did fine. They did really, really well. Overall performance-wise, just defensively excellent. Just excellent defensively. Second balls in around the penalty area. They did well. They had a referee who really wasn't doing them any favours, not helping us take the pressure off when free kicks were going against us. Our fouls were not going in our favour when they should have been. The only criticism I would have of the performance, and there's always something bad when there's good, and there's always something good when there's bad. That's the way I always like to look at it. I thought when Leeds did get possession of the ball, they gave it away a little bit too easily at times today. I thought some of the passing from Anton Stach at times was a bit sloppy. I thought Ethan Ampadu as well gave the ball away a little bit easy, more so in the first half than the second half. Some of the decision making around the edge of the box looked a bit panicky, but again, you're in Anfield, you're under the cosh for an awful lot of that game. It's probably a bit understandable, but that's the only kind of criticism I would have on it, that there were times where Leeds maybe could have tried to get a grip of the game a little bit more than they did. And then just poor decision making or poor passes into bad areas, or not putting enough on the ball, leaving them short and causing ourselves a few problems. But again, they dealt with them. Individual performances wise, again, I thought James Justin was fantastic for Leeds. I really did. The aggregate score you can see on the screen from SofaScore there, probably won't point it out too much. I think he's all right. Yeah, 7.4 is not bad. But yeah, for me, I thought he was very, very good. I thought Yakabial was very good in its right centre, in the central of the 3 centre backs as well. Thought he won all of his headers, gets a lot of distance on those headers as well. And his distribution wasn't bad either. And yeah, if you go through the whole squad, Lucas Perry, I didn't think was as good as he's been in recent weeks. A little bit shaky, drops one in the first half that he shouldn't drop, and it causes a bit of panic in the Leeds United defence. It makes a couple of saves he has to make that are straight at him, and could have maybe come for a couple more balls, and he did. But he gets a clean sheet ultimately, and again, that SofaScore rating shows him very high in the rating. But yeah, truth be told, he possibly could have taken a bit more pressure off at times. But I think he's been decent in the last few weeks and months for Leeds, so not a huge amount of criticism there. The 3 centre-backs thought worked well. Sebastian Bornell coming in and having to play a lot of the game, went off with a bit of cramp, I think, which is understandable because he hasn't played a huge amount of football. And it's a hell of a game to come in your first start in the Premier League. Bial, very, very good. Stroke, Couple of passes left a little short, but overall, very good game for Pascal Struijk. Toddy did very well in the air as well, won his headers, and took the easier options when they were needed, and that's a good thing to see as well. Gabby Goodmunson's an interesting one because I thought he had a really tough day against Jeremy Frimpong. He definitely had a tougher week than he's had in most weeks. Frimpong seemed to have the better of him, but even saying that, he didn't get anything off of him. He didn't get any clear-cut chances, didn't score any goals. And then when Chiesa came on from, Goodmunson handled him pretty easy. James Justin, far side, very, very good. I've already talked about him at length. Anton Stach, probably not at the level he's been in recent weeks. I thought he has been slow to build into games recently, but has finished games really strongly and has been excellent for Leeds over the last 3 or 4 games. I didn't think he was on it today as much, but that could have been because Leeds were sitting an awful lot deeper. Ilya Gruev, I view Ilya Gruev purely as a central defensive player. His job is to break up the ball. I thought he wins balls quite well. I thought he blocked passing lanes quite well, and his tackles and interceptions were very, very good. So did the job he was in there for, and did it as long as he could do it for. Ethan Ampadu, not at the level he's been in recent weeks. That yellow card was annoying as well. Not his fault. I wouldn't blame him for that. But still tidy enough when he had to be. And then the boys up front had nothing to play off of. It's not a game for strikers. So, yeah, not a great game for Lucas Metch and Brendan Aronson, but not all of their own doing either. More a case of the way the game was going and how they were playing. The subs that came on were all fine as well. Bogle comes on, does okay on the right-hand side. James Justin does well in the centre-back position when he goes in there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Noah Okafor cause problems when they come in and out. And out Tanaka comes on late in the game. Possibly could have brought him on a bit earlier, but be nitpicking at this point if I did say that. So where does that leave Leeds? As I say, it leaves us, 6 points now clear. 6 games unbeaten in the Premier League, which is a hell of a run for a newly promoted side, quote unquote. 3 unbeaten away from home, 6 unbeaten, and 7 points clear of the relegation zone, which is going to keep getting that gap. That's a 3-result gap minimum, and that's an important one for Leeds to have. And then just initial thoughts moving forward. We're in a good place. We've gone to Anfield and we've not lost and we've not conceded. That's excellent. Daniel Farke, I think, got his tactics spot on. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't necessarily enjoyable watch. It was a tough game to watch. But if you look at recent weeks and teams that have gone to Anfield, low blocks have caused Liverpool problems, and they caused them a problem again today. So he's listened, he's looked, and he's dealt with what Liverpool have struggled with, and he's put a side out and a performance out there to frustrate them and stifle them, and he's done that. And a clean sheet says an awful lot at Anfield. And Leeds not losing to Liverpool this season in your first year back in the Premier League says an awful lot. I mean, chances-wise, they were pretty much at a premium the first half. We will get to the ref. Don't worry. We're getting to him. I wanted to give him his own little designated spot before I do the comments. Yeah, but I'd say Leeds started really well. They had a header in the first couple of minutes from a corner. Then Liverpool had a chance. Ekitike cutting in and Perry spilling that ball, and that was in the first 10 minutes of the game, which wasn't at all. But I thought there was a little bit of panic in the first 10 minutes by Leeds, but they kind of relaxed a little bit. Liverpool had a couple of chances. Ekitike had a chance. He held off Yacoubio. There was a question mark on a penalty there, but then the ball was squared to Florian Wirtz. And it's an amazing tackle, by the way, for James Justin to get back across and block him from tapping that ball. And it was a massive moment for Leeds. Then Leeds had a chance. Alisson left that clearance really short, straight to Ethan Ampadu, and Ampadu just tried to capitalise on it, smash it first time. Unfortunately, it was too straight and too low, and Alisson got across to make that save. Then you had Frimpong cutting in for Ekitike. Probably should have scored, but Perry did well to get out of the way of the rebound. Ekitike clears the ball off the line. It's cut inside by Frimpong, and he shoots across. And all Ekitike has to do is either chest it or trying to head it into the back of the net, and it's an open goal. But he doesn't. He heads it clear. And actually, Perry just ducks, and it bounces off the top of Perry's head. It could have bounced into the goal off of Perry's head. And then we had a chance towards the end of the game as well, but Leeds just losing the possession at that point. But I wrote down just for notes in the first half, the ref had let, at that point, 3 or 4 clear 2-hand pushes on Leeds players go. And there was one point where James Justin was shoved completely in the back, extended arms, could be visibly seen. Referee had a clear view of sight to him. And the referee did this to him, get up off the ground as if he was diving. And then Arne Slot was talking about Leeds diving in the first half. So then all of a sudden the ref was just giving them free kicks for Leeds going down, or not giving Leeds free kicks for going down. And then the second half, Arne Slot starts whinging about Leeds time wasted when they weren't time wasted. And the referee's immediate to get on top of that and start warning Leeds United players about time wasting, which I thought was mad. Aronson was fouled in the first half several times by getting his heels clipped or just clipped on the sidelines. Ref didn't give free kicks for that. And then a Liverpool player would go down the exact same tackle and they would get a free kick. Like the first half, the positives for me were James Justin and the defensive shape. Excellent. The negatives were the referee giving the ball back a little bit too easily at times and some misplaced passes, but not a huge amount wrong considering the type of game we were trying to play. Second half was a hell of a lot less chances. I think Liverpool's first shot chance was the 60th minute when there was potentially a handball in there, but I didn't think it was a handball. Ampadu's one. There's a shot taken by Ekitike, And Perry makes a really good save. It comes out, and Ampadu just does this, and it hits him in the shoulder for me. But here, it's definitely not a booking. Referee gives a free kick immediately, and then books Ethan Ampadu, which rules him out of the Manchester United game, which I thought was incredibly harsh. Free kick. 65 minutes, they made their changes, tried to impact the game. It didn't really work for Liverpool. They didn't make a huge difference in the game. And then they had a corner with about 25 minutes to go. Virgil van Dijk with a clear header, free header completely in the penalty area, and he heads it wide. Probably should have done better. Leeds scored in the 80th minute. Unfortunately, it was offside. It was a lovely ball in from Gabby Goodmunson and a lovely flick around the corner from Sebastian Borneo, and then DCL pokes in. It was a lovely finish by him as well, but unfortunately, not to be the case. And then Okafor had a chance where he pulled it back to Anton Stack, and Stack's first shot was blocked, and the second was smashed over the ball. And after that, it was just balls being lumped in on top of Leeds. But in summary of the game, I thought the passing wasn't great from Leeds at times. Around the edge of the box, decision making wasn't great, but I will say the defensive aspects across the entire park were very good for Leeds United. And I wrote down the referee's a dick because I thought he was a dick. But let's talk about the referee, right? We'll get into this because I made a couple of notes with the referee. There was chance in the first half, so there was the clear push. James Justin. The biggest one for me was Anton Stack gets the ball in the first half, cuts in across the edge of Liverpool's box. And as he's running, he just catches Szoboszlai with his arm. It's accidental. There's no intent to injure him. Szoboszlai throws himself to the ground. There's no whistle at that point. Stack gets taken out of it then. So it should be a Leeds free kick. Then the referee blows the whistle for the head injury. Now, unless the rule has changed or I missed something, Leeds had possession of the ball at that point. And if he was going to stop the game for the head injury, the ball should have gone back to Leeds. The referee restarts the game with a drop ball, no free kick to Leeds after Stack was fouled, and gives the ball to Liverpool, not to Leeds. And this was consistent throughout the entire game. The referee was brutal, absolutely brutal. So not only did Leeds go to Anfield and not lose and get a point, not only did Leeds go and limit Liverpool to an awful lot of half chances, but they also had to deal with a referee who was making some atrocious calls. And the Ampadu yellow card for me is an absolute shocker. I'd be surprised if Daniel Farke doesn't take massive issue with it. But it was Graham Kavanagh was referee, I think. And not the first time we've questioned his decisions against Leeds United. So yeah, all in all, they were up against an awful lot. And they did well. They did well. I mean, a point we'd all taken. We can nitpick it. And we could say that we could have maybe tried to go at them a bit more. We could say that we could have had more attacking players on it. But I think going to Anfield and getting a point, and I think everyone kind of just thought before the game, we're keeping our eye on the weekend's game. That's where we think we can get the points. But we've gotten a point and we've remained unbeaten. And that for me is absolutely massive. Folks, we'll start to wrap it up there. Just again, as I say, massive thank you to everyone that supported the content over 2025. Happy New Year to you all. Hopefully 26 is just as good. We had 1.5 million more views last year in 25 to 24. So a massive thank you to everyone who's watched our content this year. We got more content coming over the next week. I'll try and get back in the morning with a news video. We'll do a wrap up on Saturday as well, and we'll get ready for the game on Sunday. There will be a podcast tomorrow as well. Myself and Andrea Russo is going to drop in to have a chat about the January transfer window and see what is out there and what opportunities Leeds United have. But yeah, massive point for Leeds. And again, as I say, Leeds 21 points, 6 games unbeaten. That's huge. There's a lot of draws in there. 6 draws, maybe 3 more draws needed, maybe 4 or 5 wins needed, and Leeds could be good for the Premier League next season. Then we can try and build on this again, but we keep that 7-point gap over West Ham United. That will be important. It's all about gaps for me. Always has been, always will be. So that's fingers crossed we can keep that back. And we've dinted Liverpool now with their 3 wins in a row, now a draw. So look, massive thanks as everyone for supporting us and watching us. If you could hit the like button on the way out, that'd be massively approved. And I will talk to you tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your evening. Well done to Leeds, Daniel Farke, and everyone on what has been an incredibly positive 2025. It started well and it has ended well. So well done to everyone. Thank you for watching. I will see you very, very soon. Mind yourself. Have a great evening. Bye.